In her autobiography, The Long Loneliness, Dorothy Day shares how she once prayed at a very difficult time in her life. Now, you may know this already, but Dorothy Day wasn't raised in the faith, but she came to her Catholic faith on her own, but only after a certain romance with atheism. As a young woman in her 20s, Dorothy Day was an intellectual, and she was moving in Marxist and anti-church circles, convinced that if anyone had the courage to look life square in the eye, she or he would not believe in God. And she had support in that belief. The man of her life, the love of her life at that time, was someone who shared her views. And not only him, but she moved in circles with people who thought the same. She ultimately moved in with him and bore a child outside of marriage. But believe it or not, the birth of this child, a little girl, changed Dorothy Day in ways that she could not have predicted nor foreseen. The moment her child was born, she held this beautiful girl in her arms, and she was so overcome with awe and gratitude that she spontaneously uttered her first prayer. For so much joy, I need to thank someone. And that was the moment that her faith was born. For from that purest feeling of gratitude, she began instructions in the Catholic faith and was baptized and became a Christian. And the father of her child, upset by this change in her, by her becoming a Catholic, warned her that if she had their child baptized into the same faith, he would leave Dorothy Day. Well, Dorothy Day had her daughter baptized, and he left her. Many of her friends whom she had associated with reacted in the same way. So even as she was buoyed up by this newfound faith, she found herself very much alone, without much of her former friends and support systems. She was a single mother, living on her own, lacking money, and without any practical vision of what she was going to do now with her life and with her child. And so she floundered in this sense of being lost and lonely for a period of time, unsure of where she was going. And one day, believe it or not, she couldn't take it anymore. So she left her young daughter in the care of friends in New York and took a train to Washington, D.C., where she spent the entire day praying at the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception. And the prayer that she spoke to Our Lady was one of utter helplessness. It was the prayer of someone who felt totally lost. And in essence, this is what she said to Mary. I've given up a lot for you, and you haven't done anything for me. I'm lost. I'm alone. I'm unsure of what to do. And I'm running out of energy and patience. I need help. I need it now. Not in some distant future. Help me, Mary. Help me now. I can't go on like this. When Dorothy Day got back to New York that night and walked up to her apartment, a man was sitting on the stoop of her apartment waiting for her. He told Dorothy Day that he had heard about her and about her coming into the faith. And he had an idea, and he needed her help. He then went inside and he explained to her his concept of the Catholic worker. And the man's name was Peter Maurin. And I think, as we all know, the rest is history. From that moment on, she had a vision for her life, and she never let go of it. She had found herself in the work of Christ. Several years ago, a woman once commenting to me on a very low point in her life, just like Dorothy Day, made this beautiful comment. "You know, Father," she said, "lost is a place too. Being lost is a place too." And she's right. And lost, as we see in the gospel, and lost in Dorothy Day's time, is the place from where we are especially invited to pray. When we hurt all over, when we live in shame that we can't bear, when we're on our knees because we're too weak to stand, then we're in the perfect place, the perfect posture for prayer. And I believe, as Dorothy Day did, that no one listens to our prayers of helplessness more compassionately than Mary. Because we address Mary as our mother of perpetual help. She is our refuge and our hope. She is that place of safety for anyone who is lost in sin and seeking the shelter of mercy. Anyone who's tossed by the storms on the sea of life and who need an anchor. First, like Dorothy Day, we go and we remind her that her reputation precedes her, that we hear her called by all, the refuge and the hope of sinners. And then we implore her. We say to her, "Be my refuge, be my hope, help me. Stretch forth your hand to me in my misery, and hold me like an anchor so that I may not wander off course and lose my way. Help me, especially in these times of danger, when I feel tempted to forget to call on you and risk not simply being lost, but losing my soul. This is the grace I beg from you, O Mother of perpetual help, my refuge and my hope, that I may always, always have recourse to you no matter what." My friends, remember, lost is a place too. It's the place where I assure you we can find Mary, waiting to show us the way to Jesus.